Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me for another episode today. This is going to be a special installment where we look at some cards as a tribute and celebration of two very impressive milestones that just happened to be achieved in the same evening last night in the world of NHL hockey. And they were achieved by the two guys who have sort of been the darlings of the game for the last 20 years or so. And I know in the last few years, Connor McDavid has kind of become maybe the biggest name in hockey. But prior to that, the two big guys that have dominated the 21st century in the NHL are Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And each of them had an achievement to definitely celebrate last night and want to talk about each of those. So we're going to start with Sidney Crosby. He was the first overall pick in the 2005 NHL entry draft and came in highly touted as, the next Wayne Gretzky, essentially. So just giant shoes to fill, had a very successful juniors career, taken first overall by the Penguins. He was the guy, and he's really lived up to a lot of those lofty expectations. I know injury has been a problem in later years, and there's some people that take an issue with his, chippy style of play or his whining or complaining, but regardless of your stance on Crosby, he is one of the most successful players in the history of the NHL. And last night, he scored his 500th career goal, all in a Pittsburgh Penguins uniform. Of course, he's never played for any other franchise. And so I wanted to do a small kind of tribute and shout out to the man for achieving that milestone. And pulled three pretty cool cards of his that I've accumulated over time to show off today. The first is a pretty big one. So this is Crosby's Parkhurst rookie card from the 2005-2006 Parkhurst set. And believe it or not, I received this for free, completely by surprise, as a gift from a friend of mine many years back who I knew through the card blogging world. And it was an impressive card then. It's an even more impressive card now, and definitely one of the nicer, random gifts that I have ever received. Definitely was able to pay back the sender of this with a pretty nice card myself, so I felt good about that. But really cool Crosby rookie. When he first burst onto the scene, he looked like he was going to be the next Wayne Gretzky. He debuted at age 18 and scored 100 points, better than 100 points in his age 18 season in the NHL, which is pretty insane to think about. He was the youngest ever to score 100 points in a season. And then even more impressive than that, in his second year, he was still a teenager, 19 years old. He won the league scoring title and an MVP. So right there, he kind of cemented his legacy. 200-point seasons, an MVP, and a scoring title. And the kid was just 19 years old still. So, right there, he kind of began his legacy. Alex Ovechkin, who's the other player we're going to talk about today, he was taken number 1 overall in the 2004 entry draft, the year before Crosby. And in the early going in their respective careers, they were always compared to each other, having been the back-to-back number 1 picks, Crosby being from Canada, Ovechkin being kind of the evil guy from Russia in many people's minds. And there was kind of a real big rivalry between these two guys. And out of the two of them, Crosby got off to the hotter start. There's no question about it. And then in later years, let's take a look at another Crosby card here. This is a slab that I picked up actually just last year from Panini Select. This is the lone Panini Select hockey set that was produced when they had their NHL license for a limited time. You can see that great etching here on the uniform and gloves. This is not a refractor or prism or anything. This is just a base card, but it looks fantastic. Huge fan of Select and the chromium cardstock, so I chose this one to show off as well. Believe it or not, got this last year for less than $25 shipped, which is pretty crazy to me. But we'll put that up there when we talk about, the progression of Sid's career. So he went on to, win a gold medal with Team Canada in the Olympics. And most importantly, kind of what separated him from Ovechkin in the early going anyway in his career is that he captured multiple Stanley Cups for the city of Pittsburgh. And that is something that Ovechkin struggled with in the early going in his career. It was the team success, and Crosby was kind of looked at as like the ultimate leader. He was able to bring 3 Stanley Cup championships to the city of Pittsburgh, at least at this point in his career. And so, yeah, as of, spring of 2017, heading into the 2017-18 NHL season, Crosby looked like the better of these two guys, between Crosby and Ovechkin. He had 3 cup championships at that point, 2 MVPs, 2 scoring titles, gold medals, all the accolades you could throw at a player. And if you had to take a pick who was going to have the better career in the end out of those 2 individuals, just about everybody would have said Crosby. His hobby prices reflected that. He was much more valuable than Ovechkin as far as his rookie cards or high-end cards went, and he was sort of the darling of the league for the most part. And then here's a third Crosby card while we finish up the narrative on him. Another really cool one that I brought home last year. This is, it's a little bit tough to tell. I'll see if I can get the light right here, but this is an Upper Deck Exclusives parallel, which I've talked about many times, serial numbered out of 100 copies. So was fortunate enough to snag this 2012 exclusives of Sid. Also got this last year. You're going to think I'm crazy or lying, but this set me back less than $30 shipped to my door in the slab. Awesome photo here of Sid celebrating with his teammates, and just a really cool and unique card for my Crosby collection. So that's the third and final Crosby that I pulled today. And again, just wanted to pay tribute to him. He's slowed down a little bit in recent years. Age is becoming a factor. He's into the latter half of his 30s now, and still a very productive player. He's among the league leaders in points. Great setup and assist man. And as I said last night, not to be overlooked, scoring his 500th career NHL goal, a feat that very few players are ever able to achieve. Sid obviously still has some gas in the tank, so maybe he'll add a 4th Stanley Cup championship before he hangs them up. That seems unlikely, but at the very least, he'll probably accumulate some more goals and points, and it'll be fascinating to see where he kind of finishes off. But what I think is very interesting is what's kind of happened in the latter half of these guys' careers. So again, heading into the 2017-18 season, 3 cups for Crosby, 2 MVPs, 2 scoring titles, no cups for Ovechkin. So, things looked a little bit bleak if you were on the Ovechkin side of the debate in terms of who was the better player. Well, in 2017-18, Ovechkin finally got over the hump and was able to win a Stanley Cup championship with the Washington Capitals. That was a significant moment in his career. Yes, Crosby has 3 and he has only 1, but getting over the hump and getting that 1 championship was huge. That was something that a lot of his detractors would point out as, he's a great individual scorer, but he's not a two-way player. He's not able to lead a team to a championship. And in the spring or summer of 2018, Ovechkin silenced those critics and won a Stanley Cup championship. And then, of course, what's gone on since then with his insane scoring pace into his late 30s here, in my opinion, and I'm biased, I prefer Ovechkin out of these 2 players, so I'll admit some bias here, but in my mind, he's becoming the more impressive of the 2 players as he continues to put up the scoring numbers that he has. He's right near pacing the league in scoring again this year at age 31. He scored 2 goals last night for the Capitals. They are right in the thick of it in terms of being competitive for another Stanley Cup this year, which is not really something you can say about Crosby and the Penguins. And so I need to abide or hold to my promise of showing a new Ovechkin card on the channel every time he scores this year. And with the 2 goals last night, picked 2 off the stack to show today. I have the 2007-2008 Upper Deck Ice base card. Unfortunately, this is one of the years where Ice was not done on acetate cardstocks. This is not a see-through card, but still a pretty neat card and just a 3rd year Ovechkin. This was a very cheap pickup that will help fill out that Z folio of Alex that I've been working on. So a neat card there. And then since he had 2 goals last night, the other card that I pulled off the pack is, I think, one of my best cheap scores of all of 2021. So I bought this last year, in the post-COVID hobby world, and I got this card for $1. I kid you not. And I texted the link to this auction win to some of my buddies at the time. So I have some people that can vouch for me on this. I was the lone bidder at $1 on this 2005 Sports Illustrated for Kids Alex Ovechkin rookie card. You heard that correctly. Just last year in 2021, picked up an Alex Ovechkin rookie card on eBay for $1. And I know, obviously, Sports Illustrated for Kids, these are perforated cards that, you would break out of the magazine. This is probably looked down upon by high-end Ovechkin collectors as, one of his lowest, type rookie cards that you could possibly acquire. I get all that, but I love oddballs, love the SI for Kids cards, and at $1 for a 2005 Ovechkin, that was absolutely insane. Now, that was a steal. I don't know what happened with this auction, if it was just poorly listed or ending at the wrong time or what. This is normally not a $1 card. I would guess that, especially with what's happened now, this is probably a $25, $30 card raw. But this one's in really good shape. You always get a little bit of, perforation marks around the edges just because of how these were distributed. But a very sharp card. If we look at the back here, you can see a young, smiling Ovechkin, and note here that he was the first overall pick in the NHL draft, and that as of December 20th, he's leading the league in, or leading rookies in goals and points, and that is December 20th of his rookie season. And you have partial stats here. So this was, printed up and distributed by Sports Illustrated in the midst of his rookie campaign, 31 games in when they printed this. So just a really, really cool early career Ovechkin card. And as a little teaser, I have another early career Ovechkin that's also a perforated card that I received from a friend of mine on YouTube that's going to be featured in a video in the coming days that I just shot yesterday. So tune in for that one. But in the meantime, was really, really excited to grab that SI for Kids for $1. I think that's, as I said, one of my bargains of 2021. And the reason that Ovechkin's goals last night were so significant, they put him over the 30 goal mark on the season for this NHL season. And that is, and this is a stunning number, the 16th time in his NHL career that he has scored at least 30 goals in a season. That is insane. When you think about that type of longevity, durability, health, and just absolute supreme talent, all of those factors have to combine. You need some luck thrown in as well, but, to achieve the 30 goal plateau 16 times is simply stunning. And, when I went to go look that up this morning, I sort of assumed that he might have the most 30 goal seasons in NHL history at this point, which is, not a crazy assumption. There can't be many people that have 15 plus 30 goal seasons, but I was sort of surprised, even though I knew that this was a very effective player, to see that one guy still stands above Alex Ovechkin with 17 30 goal seasons at the NHL level. And, try to guess who this is in your mind, but I'm going to tell you right now, unless you're a diehard hockey fan, this is probably not who you would think it is. It's not Gordie Howe. Obviously he scored a ton of goals, but also played in an era where, goal scoring was not what it is today. And longevity is really what got Howe, up above 800 career goals. So it's not Gordie Howe. It's not Wayne Gretzky, believe it or not, who's, the all-time greatest goal scorer, at least to date, at close to 900 goals. It is not Gretzky either. It's not Mike Bossy. He scored a lot of 50-goal seasons, or tallied a lot of 50-goal seasons, but was taken out, relatively early in his career due to injury. None of those guys. So the only player who has more 30-goal seasons than Alex Ovechkin in NHL history is Mike Gartner of the Washington Capitals. Again, not the name that I'm going to guess you were thinking in your mind. I think this guy is a very underrated player in the history of the league. Pretty good barstool trivia question there in terms of most 30-goal seasons in NHL history. Gartner was a speed demon on the wing, could put the puck in the net, with anybody in terms of in the history of hockey, one of the premier goal scorers. He did finish with over 700 career goals. Ovechkin passed him, a season or two ago on the list. So didn't, quite have the longevity or the huge seasons of 50, 60 goals that got him up closer to 800, but is still a member of the very select 700 career goal club, and is the only guy with the distinction of more 30 goal seasons at this point than Alex Ovechkin. So, will Ovi pass him? I think he's going to need to if he wants to surpass Wayne Gretzky for, the all-time goal lead. He's going to need at least one or two more 30-goal seasons and some longevity to get there. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give Mike Gartner his moment in the sun. It was a good chance to show off my Topps rookie card of the man and have a little bit of discussion on somebody who is very underappreciated in the history of the game of ice hockey. So that's a wrap for today. Huge congratulations to Sidney Crosby for achieving the 500 career goal milestone. Huge congratulations to Alex Ovechkin as well for his 16th career 30-goal season. Really looking forward to watching these two individuals wind down the latter years of their career. It's been a ton of fun to be an NHL fan and see these guys compete over the last couple decades, and really looking forward to seeing where each of them ends up on the all-time best list when they finally take off the skates for the final time. So appreciate you joining me for 15 or 16 minutes of hockey talk this morning. I thought last night was a really important and significant night in the history of the NHL. Really cool that two guys who were drafted side by side and compared to each other, across the lengths of their careers, achieved these significant milestones on the very same evening, just minutes or hours apart, and thought it would make for a great episode. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you for taking a few minutes of your valuable time to stop by and listen to me talk cards, and I will certainly be back in the near future with some more sports card content. Until then, take care.